Millennials claim Gen Z tradies are lazy. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Let's have a look at some good old intergenerational bashing, guys. It's always fun and games, every time. Why not? And this time it's my generation, the Millennials, and I am a geriatric millennial, bitching about Gen Z. And I think there's a bit of a culture shock here. So let's have a look at this. So, millennial bosses claim Gen Z tradies don't want to work. So, tradies in Australia have become synonymous with getting their hands dirty and working hard. But a whole new generation of workers are changing that very image. Generation C have turned up with their workplace boundaries and are changing the industry, leaving the millennial bosses fed up and exasperated. Sydney plumber Tomo, 38, has become so exhausted with the lack of effort from young tradies he doesn't even bother with apprentices. Now, it's been some time since I've had staff, but we did hire a lot of young people. It was often their first job. And you could tell the difference between those now that it's years later, seeing the hard workers, where they've gone with their lives. It's interesting to see. You can tell. They don't want to put in the hard yakka, he told news.com.au. Thinks it's partly because the Aussie trade industry is struggling to secure talent, so young workers can get away with a lot more than they used to. It's so hard, we have to take the shit ones. We have to hang on to them because we need people in the job, he explained. Well, that's kind of... I mean, is that just everyone when you're young and don't give a crap? Could that be what it was? I mean, I know I didn't love my Woolies job, when I was working on the checkouts. That was the shittest job in the world. And you kind of do it. But I guess that's different, That's when I was an architecture student, working for architectural practices, I would often stay back and work late and do what I needed to do. He's not sure why Generation Z isn't interested in working hard. He thinks maybe it's a natural evolution, but he can't quite understand their reasons. It could be some of them have given up. They feel like, well, two things. It could be they've given up because they think it's so hard to get ahead or impossible. So they're just doing the whole lay down or, only work what they're paid for. They wouldn't go that extra step. Or the social media world feeding them all the bullshit that's easier ways to make money. It's more down to them. They don't want to work too hard these days, he said. The plumber has found that they are generally unreliable and have a relaxed, it'll be sweet attitude towards work. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, could this be why? Oh, shit, imagine all the defects we're going to get. This means they're more likely to fail to get to work on time or be seen as an unreliable team member who isn't willing to put in 100% effort. He said one of the worst experiences he had was with a Gen Zer. Gen Zer was one he literally had to pull out of bed in the mornings. I don't... Really? He could not get him out of bed, and you had to go to his front door and pull... Bullshit. It was a daily... No, then you fire him. You fire him. You don't put up with that shit. You don't need to go to someone's house. Things got so dire that Tomo often had to enlist the guy's mum to help get him out of bed in the morning. That's pathetic. This guy wants to be a NEET then. He doesn't want to work. He hates his job. Tomo believes this is partly because young people end up working in trades, not because they want to, but because their helicopter parents are securing apprenticeships on their behalf. I wonder if... my first job, even though it was at Woolies and it was a shit job, I wanted it. I wanted the money. I remember that. And I remember my mother was always angry at my dad because I'd take him out and we'd get Subways. And, at high school, I'd have money so I could do things. Isn't that what you want? When I started my apprenticeship, it was me that had to find the job. And these days, half the stuff is done by parents trying to get their kid a job. So the parents are trying to help. But they're not letting the bird leave the nest. Could this be it? Maybe it could be. The result is that plenty of young people working in trade seemingly don't want to be there. Tomo said he and his fellow millennial tradies, we really are evolving into the new boomers, would often discuss how easy Gen Z has it, but he admitted that's just part of being the older generation. Yeah, that's just getting old, mate. Tomo's getting old. God, it's so easy these days, these young'uns. I think we had it a lot harder, everyone does. But when you speak to older guys, they'll say they had it a lot harder, he said. Plumber Stephen, 28, believes that Generation Z is finding it more challenging to put in the hard yards when it comes to working in a trade because of social media. He said when young people are constantly being told there are quick and easy ways to make money online, working in manual labor for a living is a harder sell. They're probably thinking, why am I working so hard for money, he pointed out. I wonder. I mean, there is a lot of... I mean, that would explain all the idiots falling for these stupid scams online, wouldn't it? The Sydney-based tradie said that ultimately, when young people start in the tradie industry, they aren't bringing in the big bucks. They think they've come into it thinking it's going to be really good. Yeah, it will be when you build your career. And then they do it and think, why am I struggling it out all week? Not for the best money and conditions when I can just make money from an office. Yeah, well, you need to have skills to make money in an office. Or do they all want to be YouTubers? Maybe that's it, guys. You know, they all want to be streamers. Stephen said, there were much easier ways to make money, and plenty of them involve getting to sit in air conditioning. I don't know. I think a lot of tradies think that, but it's kind of bullshit too. Who's the first to go? It's the person sitting in the office doing bugger all. He's bang on too, because there's been a 5.3% drop in apprenticeships in New South Wales, and more than 18,300 apprentices have withdrawn from their course. It isn't just young people aren't prepared to work as hard. They're also far more likely to advocate for themselves and aren't buying into the millennial culture of killing themselves over a job. I mean, you want to work hard. You want to earn money. You don't want to be sitting at home getting your mother waking you up to go to your bloody job. Is that killing yourself over a job? Being on time? Stephen has observed that they are more likely to go on stress leave and take a mental health day. So these are things bludgers would do. You know, the lazy bastards who wouldn't work. I remember there's one guy, another architect, who I worked with at university, and he was tutoring as well as I did, and he just kept taking sickies all the time. And I remember I worked for a company that he used to work at. I don't think he liked me because he never gave us any opportunities. And I said, oh, did such and such always take sickies? And they all looked at each other, go, yep, that's him. Yeah, there you go. And while it's a big change from how the culture was when he started, he thinks it's a positive change, is it? We'll see. I was just brought up to get it done, and work has to be done, he said. Well, isn't that normal? Or am I showing the generational shift here, guys? On the other hand, Gen Z grew up in a culture where work-life balance was expected and normal. It has positive impacts, and bosses need to understand an employee will never care as much as you, and rightly so, and they should do what they get paid for, he said. Yeah, but these guys aren't even turning up on time. They're not doing what they're getting paid for, okay? And a mental health, I don't know, you know. Tell me if you've ever taken a mental health day. Honestly, in the comments, blokes. Okay, I know there's a lot of tradies that watch the channel, a lot of people in the construction industry. Have you ever taken a mental health day? Newcastle-based builder Nathan McIlveen, 26, he's young, said that the tradie mentality of toughen up is rapidly changing. He said if a young tradie was being put down on site as part of some hazing, it isn't tolerated. People call it out if someone's doing something to a young bloke on site. Nathan said the older tradies in their late 40s and 50s are often angry because they started their careers when things were much more backwards. Nowadays, we are more understanding about people if they need a day off or whatever, but older guys can get angry, he said. I think that's a generational difference. I think I'm definitely an older guy. While the younger generation are improving the culture, Nathan still thinks they are lazy, and he blames social media for telling young people they can make heaps of money with little effort, meaning actually working hard doesn't appeal to them. They'll do a week with a builder and say, no way am I doing this. He said it was because they think they can make money. Yay. There's such a shortage of young talent that are willing to get their hands dirty. Founder of Western Sydney Youth, Amanda Rose, said that young people don't need it to change, but rather the tradie industry needs a makeover. What will happen is, okay, this is a woman writing this, so, you know, it's going to be very biased. People will just get immigrants coming over. They'll hire someone from another culture with a different work ethic that won't have a mental health day or do any of that shit, that will just get the job done. Now, I saw this recently here. I had to remove a whole bunch of hoarding that we had dug in to put some beams. You know, we put some plywood up to form up the concrete so we didn't need to use extra concrete and keep it all nice and tight. What the boys had done is they'd put star pickets in, boxed it out, perfect. So I hired a labour hire company to send 2 blokes to dig them all out and take them out. So, you know, I'm up at the other house getting a coffee, going back and forth. Halfway through, this one guy, and you know what, I'll just merge over here because I'm doing my chat now. Halfway through, the Pommy bloke, I had a Pommy bloke and a Frenchman. You always get odd mixes of people here for labour hire. And he comes up to me, oh, if I put my back out, I hurt myself, you know, because of the star picket, it was stuck in the concrete. We're talking star pickets that were down a couple of 100 mils. They had a sledgehammer, you tap it to the side, you pull it out. Pull it out with your bare hands. Apparently this hurt his back. So I said, oh, you go home and everything like this. I've got to write an incident report. And the incident is removing the shit that you had to remove. And the labour hire goes, yeah, they'll often complain about this and then the next day ringing up for more work. It's all bullshit. And you know what? The Frenchman, he got it all done himself. So there you go, you know. We need to prove young people with positive and practical experience in trades. From the end of year 9, she said, how old is she? What's her experience? Has she run a job? Okay? Because you can't have someone taking a mental health day if you've got a construction deadline. You just got to do it. You've got to get the job done. You've got to meet the time frame. What about liquidated damages? Shit. The truth is society isn't very nice to tradies. Young apprentices are expected to work hard but struggle to see the long-term rewards, so we need to work together to change this sentiment. The long-term rewards are having your own business, having the freedom to run your own business, to make your own hours, to pick who you want to work for. That's the goal. That's the reward. You don't get that with your mother dragging you out of bed. Said, we need to provide Gen Z with more support. Increasing mentorship of apprentices, providing them with more support through the tough early alpha. Let's chat about this one. I'm one of these old guys that's just thinking that they're lazy. Okay, that's me. I'm too old, too set in my ways. You know, this is just a bunch of young blokes needing to grow up and get their shit together. Okay, that's what it is. And this woman here who's saying we need to provide more support and do all the touchy-feely bullshit, it's going to cause more problems if you go down that path. People will talk. If you're known as the guy who never turns up on time, if you're known as the guy who always causes problems, uses every single one of their sick leave for every single thing they does, rocks up to work drunk or stoned, yeah, you're gone. Tradies will talk. They'll have a beer and say, don't hire that dickhead. And then you'll complain, oh no, why did I have a house? Why did I have this? Why is my life so shit? Oh, it's liberals' fault. Yeah, grunt. Bullshit. I'm too old, guys. I can't relate. See you next time.